All right, guys, it's late at night, but we do this show no matter what, unless I'm sick or out of town or can't. But anyways, we're doing this show. Let's talk about the return of Rudy Gobert to Salt Lake City. The Wolves get a win. There was a little scuffle at the end. Let's talk about it. It's the Hoopsner Show. Guys, before I get into this, I just want to give a huge shout out, huge thank you to Patrick. Thank you, Patrick, for tonight. That was a lot of fun. Patrick Kubo, the connoisseur, coming in big time. It was amazing. Anyways, thank you. I got to see this one in person. I watched Rudy Gobert return to Salt Lake City. It was a lot of fun. Rudy Gobert is a big time part of this Utah Jazz team and Jazz history. I wrote about it in the recap on SLC Dunk. You can go read that. I have videos of all the things that happened with Malik Beasley, Rudy Gobert's comments after the game. So make sure you go read that. You should be reading SLC Dunk every day. But anyways, Rudy Gobert returns to Salt Lake City. Let's talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves first before we talk about the Jazz. Rudy Gobert was the big acquisition in the offseason, so we all know about that. And he's on this Timberwolves team who is right now without Karl-Anthony Towns. And I'll be honest, watching them play, they didn't look like a bad team to me, and I don't know if that is just them having a really monster night. I mean, they did have a few guys tonight have some incredible nights, including D'Angelo Russell, but Rudy Gobert as the center surrounded by shooters is what worked in Utah, and it looked like it worked tonight for the Timberwolves. When Karl-Anthony Towns is playing, I don't know if they can figure out how to make that work, but it feels like when Rudy Gobert is surrounded by shooters like he is, with guys that can drive and run a pick and roll and score and shoot, then things get interesting for them. They looked like a solid team. Now, some of that could be Utah's terrible defense, and some of that could be that they look better without Karl-Anthony Towns. It's just something to watch. But I don't know if losing Karl-Anthony Towns is necessarily that bad of a thing for the Timberwolves. I will say tonight they had just some pretty monster nights shooting wise from some of their guys. Anthony Edwards had probably the roughest night, but look at this. Jaden McDaniels 5 for 7 from the field. Kyle Anderson 4 for 5 from the field. He was 7 for 9 from the free throw line. 12 assists for Anderson. That's pretty remarkable, actually. Near triple double there. But let's look at Rudy Gobert's line. He was 22 and 13. It's these last 2 points that were kind of the story. But he goes 22 and 13. He was just really dominant at times during this game. He looked like vintage Rudy Gobert, the guy that the Minnesota Timberwolves were trading for, and this is who they got. And Rudy got them the win tonight in a game they likely don't win last season. I don't know. I don't think we'll spend too much time tonight. I actually don't have enough time I don't have too long to talk about it tonight, but as I wrote the SLC Dunk recap tonight, talking about Rudy Gobert and just watching him, he is a big part of Utah Jazz history. And I couldn't help but think that, you know what, tonight, as we watched that video in the first quarter talking about Rudy Gobert and just that tribute to him, he will be a part of Jazz history forever, and rightfully so. He won 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards with Utah. He was a part of both teams that went to the playoffs, including Gordon Hayward and Donovan Mitchell. Both iterations, he was the cornerstone that helped lead those teams to the playoffs. And he's going to probably have a jersey in the rafters at some point. If Jeff Hornacek is there, I don't know why Rudy Gobert would not. I think he deserves it. He's a big part of Jazz history. And I certainly hope he has a banner up there, because I think he deserves it. He loves Utah. He's everything you want in a player that you celebrate. And so Rudy Gobert, it was just nice to see him come back. I was kind of near the bench, and I could see him when they called timeout. It was like midway through the first quarter when they played the video. You could see Rudy Gobert watching the tribute, which was nice to see. It was funny. I think their coach's name is Finch, and he was coaching the team. And Rudy was watching the montage. And that's great. He should have, because it was meant for him, and hopefully he enjoyed it. I know he really likes Salt Lake City, and he said as much. You can go to SLC Dunk and read that. And so it's just nice to see him appreciated. And and talked about. And so anyways, Rudy Gobert, big time part of Utah Jazz history. Probably going to make the Hall of Fame, which is pretty cool, and a whole bunch of other things. And if he can lead this Timberwolves team to the playoffs, I know Jazz fans won't like that because of the pick situation, but it will just add another feather to his cap in what he's done as just an NBA star. He's pretty amazing. We mentioned it. Anthony Edwards did not have a good night. One thing I noticed just watching him up close, he is so big. I mean, he's bigger than I realized at, playing guard, but at his size, he is just physically imposing, and you see why people get really excited about his potential. And when he's right and playing well, he is fantastic. Tonight the shot wasn't quite falling, but you know what? It didn't matter because D'Angelo Russell, holy cow, was he, especially in the fourth quarter, it felt like he couldn't miss. He was 12 for 16 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, a nice percentage, 30 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He was unbelievable. And he was the reason they won. I mean, besides Rudy Gobert's defense, he was absolutely the player that pulled them away. And sometimes Russell will do that. I know a lot of people talk badly about Russell on the NBA Twitter and blogosphere and all these places. But man, there are times when his shot's falling, it feels like it feels like an ocean. And tonight, it's interesting. He was 30 points, not a single free throw. He was just taking shots and knocking them down. I noticed at one point Naz Reid was on the floor with Rudy Gobert at the same time, which was kind of interesting. You think about if they're trying to keep some sort of semblance of the Karl Anthony Towns with Rudy Gobert. Nice player, Naz Reid, by the way. Just a really solid NBA player. And you know what? Just like old times with the Jazz, is it any surprise that Rudy Gobert was a plus 15 in this game? I mean, Rudy Gobert, that's just the name of the game. He helps you win games, and that's what he did tonight for the Timberwolves. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Utah Jazz. But before we do, let's just talk about Prize Picks. Guys, if you haven't already, go to Prize Picks right now. Either download the app or go to prizepicks.com and sign up using promo code HoopsNerd. They will match up to $100 when you sign up. It's a lot of fun. It's free money. You can go in and make your decisions based off of points, rebounds, assists. It's a lot of fun. I personally enjoy it a lot. It's very fun. It gives you just another thing to be interested in during the game, especially in a season where sometimes the Jazz will be not as good when they're not playing Lauri Markkanen. Go put a prop on someone else, and it's fun to watch and fun. Anyways, go sign up for Prize Picks. I would appreciate it. It supports the channel. For those of you who have, I just turned myself up. I really appreciate it. So anyways, all right, let's talk about the Utah Jazz really quick. Malik Beasley is just a sniper, and tonight he was just on, and I think part of it was he wanted to just, it's nice to see him show out well against his former team. But these numbers are unmistakable. 50% from the field, 41 from 3, 50-40. When you're putting that up, it's amazing. 23 points. This missed free throw mattered. By the way, these 2 missed free throws from Jordan Clarkson mattered as well. Sometimes it just comes down to that. 2 missed free throws from Alexander Walker. I mean, sometimes that's the difference, too, in a close one like this, because this was an impressive game for the Jazz just because they were behind. They were down at one point by like 14, and they fought back. And I think that's really the calling card of this current Jazz team, is that they just never give up. They never stop coming. They never stop fighting. They never stop executing and playing hard, and they did that same thing tonight, and it brought them back in the game. They just did not have enough good shooting nights in this one. But Malik Beasley was not a problem shooting the ball. 5 for 12. Kelly Olynyk is such a good player. 10 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. That's all I've got to say. He is just a cornerstone. He was even in a Jazz loss. That tells you all you need to know. The Walker Kessler got another start for the Jazz. We now have Jared Vanderbilt 2 games in a row coming off the bench. Kessler is figuring it out. It's interesting, him as a starter. He plays just 21 minutes because I think Will Hardy really likes that 5-out spread. It's a big part of what the Jazz do, and obviously he doesn't fit quite into that, but he does provide a lot of value in a lot of different ways, and so 21 minutes for him. It's his first time going up against Rudy Gobert. Well, no, the Jazz have played before, so he already kind of knows. but starting against Rudy Gobert, I guess. And it's really tough to start and play against Rudy Gobert for your full 32 minutes or whatever you play. That's why, I mean, that's part of why he played 21, but he had some moments and he just doesn't. It's interesting. This is like, is this his first game without a blocked shot? I don't know. This is maybe the Rudy Gobert factor. I don't know. But this was a good experience for Walker Kessler because playing against Rudy Gobert, is there anyone else out there that's harder to go against when you're playing center? I don't think so. So 7 rebounds, 6 points, 21 minutes, 0 blocks, which is interesting with his block rate, but fun to see that he's getting some regular start time. Really, honestly, if you want to come down to what cost the Jazz this game, is that Jordan Clarkson's shot was not falling. 0 for 7 from 3. He was just 8 for 20 from the field. The shots were there, they just weren't falling. He had, let's see, he had some really nice assists, but just 3 total tonight. But man, it really is starting to feel like as Jordan Clarkson goes, the Jazz go. Now that Mike Conley's back, that might not be the case quite as much. But man, if these shots just fall, if he makes 2 or 3 of these, it changes this entire game. And so that's just really rough. And yeah, some of the assists just weren't there. Alexander Walker got the start tonight. I thought that was interesting. And he actually started the first quarter. I mean, he was pretty hot. He hit some threes. He 50-50 from the field. I mean, it's interesting. He'll have these up games and down games. And today was kind of an up game, at least in the first quarter. He cooled off afterwards, obviously, but 4 assists, 4 rebounds. Nice showing from Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Can he be more consistent? I don't know, but I have a feeling he's going to be an NBA player for a while. He shows just enough that you think, man, if he can just continually do these things, if he can put up numbers like this, then you want him on the team. And look at that, +4 in a Jazz loss. So, I don't know. Jared Vanderbilt comes off the bench and does a lot of things like he always does. He had that one steal in the second half when the Jazz were going zone, and that was one thing the Jazz were doing. They were going zone a lot, and it helped bring them back into the game. Vanderbilt, it's kind of interesting. Vanderbilt seems to be a player that does really well in a defensive zone because he can roam. He's so long, and that steal was a good example of it. Led to a transition bucket or whatever. But 4 for 8 from the field. He was 0 for 2 from 3. He had been knocking down the threes before, but 12 points. Oh, sorry, guys. It's late. 12 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. Fantastic stuff from Jared Vanderbilt. And you know what? 26 minutes of Vanderbilt, he'll give you handling, passing. He can defend every position. Some better than others, but he's such a versatile player, and he does so many things for you. And so as long as this keeps happening and he keeps shooting, it doesn't matter if he misses because you want him to keep shooting until that just becomes a consistent weapon for him. Mike Conley came off the bench. He returned, but came off the bench and had a really nice night. 17 points. He was a -12, but I think this was related a little bit to who he was on the floor with. Also, he just had some rough moments at the end of the game, and that probably contributed well. Just some, he was 6 for 11 from the field, but it felt like he could have moved the ball. This should have been a little higher, to be honest. He took a couple shots that you're just like, oh, why are we shot? But he did hit 3 for 7 from 3, and he played really nice. It looked like he had not skipped a beat, to be honest. 6 assists as well for Conley in just 24 minutes. So that assist rate is still there. So eventually he'll get that starting role back. I don't know when, but when he does, this assist is probably going back to like the 8 to 10 range every night. Ochai Agbaji got minutes tonight, and he looked good. He had 5 points, 3 rebounds. He was 2 for 2 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3. I liked what I saw. And when you're up close, and I was watching in person, he looks a little lost at times. I don't know if he quite has the NBA feel yet. I think he just needs time. And that's why minutes matter. How do you get that comfort level if you never play? Like, how do you get that? I don't know. By the way, if anyone's in the chat, it's working. So I'm sorry. If anyone's trying to chat, it's just not working today. So I am really sorry. But anyways, it was nice to see him play. He played 12 minutes. He was solid. I thought one thing that was interesting is his athleticism shows up when he's on the floor. and he's got nice size too. And so it was nice to see him on the floor. I hope we see more of this, but him knocking down these shots is a big deal. It's a big deal because look at this. Talon Horton-Tucker played, and this is just another situation where, I mean, he was 0 for 4 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. He did have 2 assists and a steal, but man, it feels like sometimes he's a negative drain, you know? Sometimes it feels like he does amazing things, like that stretch where he was dunking on people and stuff like that. And then there's situations where you're just like, man. And then finally, Rudy Gay, -10. Man, they missed Fontecchio. How about that? The Jazz really missed Fontecchio. You know, if you have Fontecchio on the floor, you probably win this game. Because Rudy Gay was 1 for 7. He was 0 for 4 from 3. There were some big-time threes they needed him to knock down in clutch, and he did not knock them down. It was kind of one of those games where you're like, I just think Rudy Gay's kind of done. You know, it's tough. 3 points, 15 minutes. He couldn't hit a shot. I guess he could hit one shot. 1 for 7 from 3. It's rough. It's just, he's slow. He can't hit threes. He can't shoot. I don't know. So I think Fontecchio, we saw that Fontecchio has earned that spot, rightfully so. And him being out tonight, I think it was injury or sickness. I'm not quite sure, but he was out tonight. And you can bet when he gets back, he's getting those minutes back, which is nice to see. It's nice to have a coach that's willing to do things like play players who are better players than the current ones on in the rotation. And it's nice to have a coach that is willing to try things like a zone that gets you back in a game. You know, they ran it. It helped them out a ton. It created some turnovers. It created some confusion. It was good. And so it's nice to see Will Hardy does these things that helps the Jazz win. That's all I got tonight, guys. That's all I got. So if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Man, is everyone else? I hope you guys had a lot of fun. It was an interesting night with Rudy Gobert back. He is one of the Jazz greats, and I felt like the Jazz did a really good job in welcoming him back. But by the way, if you're a Jazz fan and you haven't subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? Subscribe to the channel, guys. All right, guys, you know what time it is. It's time to give a shout out to our All-Stars. These are the guys who make it happen. Let's see. Let's bring this up. Okay, here we go. I almost forgot. All right, guys, welcome. Thank you for being an all-star on this channel. Thank you for supporting the channel. Let's give a shout out to Built Ford Tufts, Alexander Tufts, Ryan Perry the legend, Jared Chanderbilt, Shan Therick, Jorge Arrizaga, mi amigo de abajo, Baby Elliott Matson, Jordan the Goat Besserell, JB Just Buckets JB, Zap Watts, TGD Total Game Domination, Christian House Money to Haas, Tyson Price, The Price is Right, X marks the spot for Zintas, Joshua Hansen, the Danish Destroyer, Ezekiel Raicibe, my man from down under, Austin R. Grant, editor extraordinaire, Donald Schooley and all of us, DW to CB, Darren Williams to Carlos Boozer, Patrick Kukubo, the connoisseur. Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate it. And Robert Hall of Fame. Guys, if you're chatting in chat, it's not working for me tonight. YouTube's not showing me my chat, so I apologize. But guys, all of you are amazing. Thank you for supporting the channel. We'll be back tomorrow night, I believe, for a Jazz back-to-back. And that should be a lot of fun. Guys, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. Go to Prize Picks. Sign up for Prize Picks. I will talk to you next time.